A man circled 6 characters on a printout and wrote one word next to them. Wow. That word is the only reason you've ever heard of what happened that night. Not the data, not the science. One man's handwriting in the margin of a piece of paper nobody was supposed to read twice. This is the story of the most famous 72 seconds in the search for alien life. And here's what almost nobody tells you about it. We're not actually sure it came from aliens. We're not sure it came from anywhere we can explain. And the not knowing has lasted longer than almost anything else humans have ever tried to solve together.
Let's go back. August 15th, 1977. Ohio State University runs a radio telescope, nicknamed Big Ear. It's not glamorous. It's a field of metal scanning the same patch of sky night after night, printing out columns of numbers nobody reads in real time. A volunteer named Jerry Ehman is the one who eventually does read them, days later, going through stacks of paper, looking for anything unusual buried in the noise. Most of it is nothing. It's always nothing. Then, it isn't.
6 characters. 6EQUJ5. To you, that looks like nothing. To Ehman, it meant something specific. A signal that rose, peaked, and faded exactly the way a real distant source would as the Earth rotated underneath the telescope. Not a glitch, not static, a shape. And it landed on 1420 megahertz, the hydrogen frequency. The one frequency scientists had spent decades saying any advanced civilization would probably use to say hello, because hydrogen is everywhere in the universe, and any species smart enough to build a radio telescope would know it. Out of every frequency in the universe, it landed on the one we'd already guessed. Ehman didn't have an explanation. He had a pen.
Wow. Here's the question that should bother you immediately. Why didn't this become the biggest story in human history? Because nobody could repeat it. For the next 47 years, every telescope that pointed at that same patch of sky in Sagittarius heard nothing. Not an echo, not a fainter version, nothing at all. Scientists ruled out a satellite. The trajectory didn't match. They ruled out military interference. Never found. They ruled out terrestrial noise. Impossible at that frequency. In 2016, a team finally claimed they'd solved it. 2 comets, they said, passing through the field of view with hydrogen clouds that could theoretically explain the signal.
Ehman, by then in his 70s, read the paper carefully and said, no. The comets weren't in the right position. The numbers didn't hold up. The scientific community largely sided with him. So right now, as you're watching this, the honest answer to what was the wow signal is the same answer it's been since 1977. Nobody knows. And that should feel strange to you. We live in a world where almost everything gets explained eventually. Cold cases get solved with new DNA testing. Old photographs get geolocated by strangers on the internet in an afternoon. We've sequenced entire genomes, mapped the ocean floor, photographed a black hole.
But 72 seconds of radio noise from 1977 has outlasted every attempt to explain it. Here's what I think is actually the more interesting question. Not what was it? Why can't we let it go? Every few years, a new paper comes out, a new theory, a new attempt to revisit data that's nearly half a century old. Scientists who weren't even born in 1977 still write about it, still argue about it, still point telescopes at that same patch of sky, just in case. You don't do that for something you don't care about. You do that for something that might be the most important thing you've ever almost heard. Think about what it actually feels like to send something out and get nothing back. Not, I don't know what happened to my message. You know exactly what happened. It arrived, it registered, and then silence. No confirmation it mattered. No proof anyone heard it the way you meant it. That's not a hypothetical for most people. That's a Tuesday. The text that gets left unread. The idea you pitched that got a polite nod and never mentioned again. The version of yourself you put into a room, hoping someone would notice, and watching the room move on like nothing happened.
We don't usually compare that feeling to outer space, but the mechanics are identical. You send a signal, you wait, and the waiting itself starts to feel like the answer, even when it isn't one. Here's what nobody tells you about Jerry Ehman, the man who actually found the signal. He didn't spend the rest of his life chasing fame from it. He spent the rest of his life being annoyed by people who wanted it to mean more than the data allowed. Reporters wanted him to say aliens. He kept saying, I don't know, for decades. Even when it would have been so much easier, so much more exciting, to just say yes. That's a strange kind of integrity. Sitting with, I don't know, instead of manufacturing a satisfying ending.
Most of us are terrible at that. We'd rather invent a story, even a bad one, than tolerate the discomfort of an open question. We decide why someone didn't text back. We decide what a silence meant. We fill in the blank because the blank itself is unbearable. Ehman never filled in the blank. Not once. Not when it would have made him famous. Not when it would have made the story better. He just kept saying, here's what we know, here's what we don't, and here's why both of those things matter. That's the actual legacy of the WOW signal. Not aliens, not confirmation of anything beyond Earth. A 47-year demonstration that you can hold a mystery without needing to solve it to make it worth something.
The signal arrived once. It mattered once. It was never explained, and it was never repeated. And it still changed how an entire species thinks about its place in the universe. Maybe that's the part actually worth taking with you. Not every signal you send gets answered. Not every effort gets acknowledged. Some things land once, matter enormously, and then go quiet forever. And that doesn't mean they didn't count. It just means the universe, like most of the people in it, doesn't always tell you when it heard you. If this changed how you see something, even for a second, hit subscribe, because the next video on this channel isn't about space at all. It's about something stranger. Millions of people sharing the exact same memory of something that, according to every record we have, never actually happened. And if this is the first video you found on this channel, there's one before this you should watch. 74,000 years ago, the entire human species came down to a number smaller than a small town. Every person alive today is descended from whoever made it through. That video's right here.